Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 48 of the Rambler podcast, where we are passionate about sharing what makes Cathedral Prep the standard of excellence. On this episode of the podcast, we're thrilled to have Pat Grab on as a guest. Pat was raised in Erie, and he graduated from Cathedral Prep in 2005. He played tennis here at Prep, and then continued his tennis career at the College of Worcester, and by his senior year, worked his way up to team captain, #1 singles and doubles, and all-conference singles honors. Many people know him as the prep tennis coach or a tennis pro at Westwood Racket Club, or perhaps as a commercial real estate agent with Coldwell Banker, web designer, and photographer, and now owner of Costco Rubber Stamps. Pat has been a serial entrepreneur most of his life, following his passions and talents and turning them into business ventures. We were talking about some of your T-shirts that you did while you were a student and beyond for Prep 2. Some black market shirts, right?
That's right.
Pat has been coaching the Prep Boys tennis team now for 15 seasons, and in that time they have produced 4 doubles state titles, including a rare three-peat, 1 doubles state runner-up, and 1 fourth-place state singles medal, the first of any singles medals in Prep history. So quite the accomplishments there. Pat continues to play competitive tennis, winning an Erie record 6 City Rec single titles and 6 City Rec double titles. He and his wife Emily proudly raised their 4 boys, yes 4, here in Erie, chasing them from one sporting event to another. And so life is busy for him and beautiful, and he could not be more fortunate for all of the blessings. Good stuff,
right.
Pat. Welcome.
Jimmy, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate you doing this. It's a cool thing for Prep to do a podcast.
You know, it was probably 2 years ago, kind of around this time of springtime. I'm out just cutting grass, and this thought comes to my mind. I'm like, I should start a podcast for Prep, because I like listening to podcasts, and a lot of them were like entrepreneur business podcasts and whatnot. And I was like, I should combine this with what I'm doing with Prep and just kind of be able to have alumni on,
Absolutely.
Talk about their career successes, Get coaches on, talk about what they're doing for the school. So appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's a cool way for alums to connect, probably listening to a podcast. Hopefully some students listen too.
Yes, exactly. And what ages are your boys, by the way?
This is easy now. It's 2, 4, 6, 8.
2, 4, 6, 8. There we go.
Yeah. 4 boys. Yeah, it's chaos.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
Right.
Yeah. It's my house is like a miniature correctional facility.
God bless your wife, man. God bless
Well, you know
her.
what it's like with 4, but not 4 boys.
Correct. Yeah, 2 boys, 2 girls, different dynamics. You know, the girls definitely have different needs than the boys. And I can only imagine if it was 2 more boys, how much more crazy it would be around there.
A lot of energy, right?
Yeah. And you have them in sports, obviously. It says taking them around from different
we're
events
playing a lot of sports.
Yeah.
I try to get them to play tennis with me as much as possible, but they don't seem to always want to do that. So we're doing soccer, basketball now. They're really into basketball right now. As
Yeah.
the MY or the YMCA league's going on. So
Oh, cool.
That's taking all our focus at the moment.
Yep. So similar to me, it's the youth sports, but then, you know, the Waldemere days, right? The beach,
Yeah.
the zoo, all the different kind of
Right.
family stuff around Erie. So that's fun. But yeah, no, I mean, we've known each other for a while now, ever since I came back working for the school, you know, and whatnot. And it's great to see the success you've had. 15 years. I'm sure it's felt like that, you know, overnight.
That has flown by.
Yeah.
That's hard to believe. I started in 2010 just thinking I was going to help out with Kent Pechtal, who was my coach and a good friend and a guy I really respect and really enjoy being friends with him to this day. I stay in touch with him. I was going to be his assistant coach, and then all of a sudden, 2010, the season of 2010, we're gearing up for it, and I'm just thinking, okay, I'm going to be an assistant coach. I can come and go a little bit as I please, and I don't have as many responsibilities as the head coach. Well, Kent has to get a major surgery. He had to get a tumor removed. So midway, that was right in the middle of the season. So basically he was out for the entire season. I became interim head coach for the 2010 season. So my first season ever coaching, I was all of a sudden the head coach. Something I was probably not quite prepared to do.
Sure.
But I just jumped in and have been part of the program ever since.
Yeah. Well, I remember I didn't play tennis myself, so I didn't know you personally then, but I would have been a junior that year then that you first coached. The spring 2011 would have been when I graduated.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So a lot of those guys,
right.
yeah, were my classmates from that year.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, that's great. And, when you look back on, that's funny. So that was only, you graduated in 2005?
Yeah.
So that was only 5-year difference from when you were just here to coaching.
Right.
When you look back on even when you decided to come to prep, what was that decision like for you?
It wasn't much of a decision. It didn't need to be a decision. I was one of those kids that was born in a prep family and was going to prep, and that's where I wanted to go. And that's where all my friends were going. So I remember going to football games and basketball games when I was in grade school, and just probably wearing prep gear since I was in first or second grade. So it was where I was going.
It's exactly how I was. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And when you look back on your time, what are some of the things for you that really stands out as some of like your best memories from being a student at prep?
That's hard. It's like saying which one's your favorite kid, right?
Yeah, right.
We joke that our favorite kid's the one who's making our lives the easiest at the moment. So that's what we tell our kids.
Changes daily or hourly.
I have a lot of good memories, random classroom memories, hallway memories, sporting memories. Probably the favorite thing when I look back at my time is the run that our basketball team made to the state semifinals that year. And that was quad A, so that was when there was only 4 classes, so prep was playing with the big boys.
Right.
And we had just an undersized group, but a very gritty team that ended up making a really good run. And the whole thing surrounding it was fun. The atmosphere at the school, the hallway excitement was great. The pep rallies, the cheering sections, everything about that whole journey was special and so much fun. For one of the state semifinal game, we filled 5 coach buses and brought students full there. So I felt like half the school was there.
Yeah.
And it was in large part because of our nice, good senior class that was promoting all the school spirit and the P-flop that we did, that we resurrected the tradition. We probably haven't seen that at the school since.
Probably, honestly.
And many listeners probably have no idea what that is. But the P-flop was a cheerleading tradition where seniors, typically 6 of them, would run around in the middle of the football field or the basketball court and essentially flop their bodies into the shape of a letter, and then we're going to spell out prep, and the crowd yells P-R-E-P. And it was a really entertaining halftime routine that a lot of people came to love watching. And so we did it all through the playoffs, which was really cool. So
that is cool.
We're performing in front of hundreds, thousands of people, and we took it serious. We practiced for that, and we thought of ourselves as actual cheerleaders because we were the ones like in the front of the cheering section leading the group. I mean, we took it half serious, but we had practices and we had routines.
Yep.
And it was very fun. The whole experience was just great, entertaining.
I remember seeing the P-flop. I don't remember specifically if I was a student and they did it, or it was me like in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade at a game and seeing it at one point.
Probably seeing me
run
around like an idiot in the middle. I mean, it was basically like WWE. Knocking each other to the ground, like a clothesline, a drop kick, like a Stone Cold Steve Austin stunner, and then the bodies just fall onto the ground. But every routine was different. Every week was a little bit different based on our silly ideas that we come up with at practice. And we had coaches. Ferraro and Slaby were our like actual cheerleading P-flop coaches.
Oh, nice.
And we did get varsity letters for what we did there. It was awesome.
That is awesome. I remember the best part being that the prep cheering section being like all into it. So they knew like as soon as they saw the P,
right. And if someone gets clotheslined, then the crowd's yelling, "Oh!" like it was a full theater performance.
Yeah,
like everyone loved it.
Yeah. And when you talk about, being a part of that, student at a time when they made that run, I think it was my sophomore year that the basketball team made a run also in the playoffs pretty deep. And that was, like you said, it's just some of the most fun because you're part of going on those bus rides or traveling out with, your friends to go to those games, getting in the cheering sections, cheering on your buddies. I mean, some of my best memories I can think of being in those sections.
Right? Yeah. It's just so special.
Yeah.
We were fortunate to have a good team because our football team didn't make it far, so we didn't get to experience that, and then that's why basketball season was so special for us.
Yeah. Made a big difference for sure.
Yeah, big time.
Now, you played tennis.
Yep.
And what was it that led you to that sport? Were you playing as a kid, or did you take it up when you started at prep? When did you kind of decide?
I played a lot of sports as a kid, and I didn't start to specialize or take tennis really serious until halfway through high school, which is probably too late for most sports. It's certainly too late for tennis, but I tried to make the most of it when I went essentially all out for tennis. But I was a serious golfer too, so I did that in the fall. And then I did tennis in the spring. And then I think ultimately I decided, okay, I'm going to better use my athletic ability doing tennis as opposed to golf. And that's when I put golf to the side and really focused on tennis.
Well, I would say it was a good decision. I mean, I read off your background about the college accolades you achieved too. And that's funny to hear that.
It's wild to think what life would be like without tennis or a sport. But my sophomore year, I remember sitting in on the track meeting, thinking I may actually do track and field instead of tennis.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
And then we had a successful sophomore year tennis season. We had a good team. We had a fun team. I enjoyed the guys. And then from there, I think I realized this is my sport.
Yeah, that's really cool. And then fast forward a few years later, now you're becoming an assistant.
Right.
You mentioned kind of that process earlier about becoming an assistant to the interim head coach pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But I don't think you did mention, how did you even end up becoming an assistant coach? What was it? Did Kent call you, or how was that interest even?
So I was back in Erie after college, not sure which direction I was going to go, maybe which city I was even going to live in. And I had built up a reputation for tennis, so doing tennis lessons as a tennis pro was easy. It was natural. Business was there. And so I started doing that at Westwood Racket Club, and that's when I started to get to know the guys. Kent knew I was back in town, so we continued our good relationship. And then obviously as season's approaching, he's like, hey, would you like to help out this year? And naturally I wanted to give back to the school a little bit and give some of my time, but I did not think I'd be doing it as a full-time head coach that year. So I guess it's just funny how things work out.
Yeah, that is really funny. And when you think to those early years then, the 2010 to 11, 12, 13, as you're just starting coaching, right? But you're thrust in this position of head coach. When you reflect on those years, what really stands out to you the most for your early years coaching?
They were a lot different than they are now. How I approach things, how I coach, everything was a bit different then. The kids probably treated me different because I was closer to their age too. So that's a bit challenging sometimes. I was only probably 4 or 5 years older than some of the oldest kids on the team. So I think there's a natural respect that comes with age and experience that I get now compared to back then.
Right.
It was different. I think I was focused on different priorities back then. Maybe winning as the highest priority, where today is more about the overall positive experience that these boys are going to have.
Yeah.
While we want to win and achieve our goals, but we're going to have a good experience and a good time, a good season with everything.
Yeah.
So that, I guess that's more of the lens from a father now compared to when I was not back then. I just see things a little bit different now, and it is for the better.
Yeah. I'm sure each season you probably learned, I'm sure you still do, learn a little bit more about being a better coach, right?
No,
and just year to year, how to
what
improve.
Works, what doesn't, what to say, what not to say sometimes. All that has played into a part, and I felt like made me be a better coach year after year, and then things run smoother, and it's just a whole lot easier.
And the dynamics of year to year, your players change too, right? So naturally, some might receive a message different than other ones. So juggling that too.
You do have to coach each kid a little bit different with what you say and how you act around them, how much you say to them. sometimes kids are better left without saying much at all, and sometimes you have to talk a lot with each kid. So it's all different. The kids do change year after year.
Yeah.
The quality changes. It goes up and down.
Yeah.
But ultimately, tennis players are usually pretty good kids.
So this might be a question more for me than the listeners, but they can listen in. So fast forward to today. You're married. You got 4 kids. The business ventures that you're pursuing. Yeah. You're also coaching people personally for tennis, and then you're also the head coach for tennis.
Right.
How do you manage it all with your schedule, your time? How do you balance things? Yeah, you got a lot of different directions that you're being
caffeine
pulled.
Helps. Coffee's important. My wife and I joke about that a lot because we'll have a fair amount of coffee throughout the day and then maybe an espresso shot later at night after dinner. Our 2-year-old goes over to the espresso machine and turns the button on and knows that it's coffee time. So that helps us get through the whole bedtime routine. And then we have free time at about 8:30 or 9 p.m. So yeah, I get about an hour. Right. I get an hour of free time a day. I've learned that time management is the most important part because I have various ventures going on throughout the day. So I got to prioritize the things that are of the most importance and focus on them, while the other ones can go to the side for the moment, whether that's the hour or the day or whatever. So time management is the biggest aspect of all that.
Yeah. No, it's definitely something that I've started to learn through the years too, right? As you get married, have more responsibilities, start having kids, career demands, increase, whatever it is. Right. I'm not coaching though, so that's the one thing you got over me that my boys are starting Little League Baseball this spring though, so I'm sure you'll eventually volunteer coach and do all that stuff. Yeah,
and some of those are the most fun because there's so many new kids to the sport, and you're just trying to have a good time with them. Correct, and the priorities are just so different with a MYA team, something like that, as opposed to a high school team.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's funny. It's pretty awesome to see the success that you've had. You're very humble in how you've been, describing your coaching journey and your playing career, but I'm glad I do the bios for people because you are very accomplished, in what you've done for tennis as a player and as a coach. And, we're really fortunate to have you leading the tennis program. And when you look at the success you've had, what do you attribute your success to that you've had as a coach here?
As a coach, right.
Yeah.
We could say a lot of things. We'd probably start by saying the foundation that Coach Pechtal laid for us of decades of really an excellent program and a lot of pride with that program and a state power for 2 decades that I can remember.
Yeah.
So I think he laid the groundwork there, and then I helped to continue it. But ultimately we get good kids come through our doors here. So some of that we can control. Some we are just fortunate and blessed to have good tennis players at a private school. I think that comes with the territory.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. But we do make the most out of those players during their time here. And so I think that's what our core group of coaches does a really nice job of.
Yeah.
And we develop them and maximize their talent, I think, unlike any other tennis program in the state does. Oftentimes a tennis coach for a school, a public school, might just be the gym teacher or someone who has some knowledge of the tennis program, whereas we have certified tennis professionals on staff and state champions and a lot of credibility with the coaches there to help really bring the best out of our players.
Right.
The facility helps a ton. Our new tennis courts.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about that at all.
That are behind the villa, the old villa school. 6 beautiful courts. They're the nicest tennis courts within a 1.5-hour, 2-hour drive of Erie. So we're really fortunate to have those at our disposal anytime we want them.
It's a lot of tennis complex.
That's right.
What was that? 2019 was it in school?
That 2019, the fall of 2019.
Yeah, I thought so.
We're all excited for the season of 2020. We had one practice outside on those beautiful new courts, and then COVID shut everything down. So that's when that started. We used to use Frontier Park as our complex, and that was tough because we're fighting other high schools to use the courts. The general public's on the court, so it was never our own. It was not the nicest, and now we do have the nicest tennis facility in the region.
Yeah, beautiful. I remember they announced that project, and it felt like a long time coming for the program and where it had been to have its own complex.
We asked all the time. We said, hey, when are we going to have some tennis courts? Of course, there were many other high priorities on the school's list.
Sure.
But it was awesome that they got to us eventually. And,
yes.
And we could not be more happy with that.
Yeah, beautiful facility over there, and you and your team do a great job keeping it up, as well as the facilities team, of course, and making sure that everything's taken care of.
And now we run a tournament over summer. That's a big
yes.
draw. We get 115 participants, and
awesome.
It's just a really fun weekend where kids have a lot of fun. We have entertainment for all. We're playing cornhole. There's a bounce house. It's just a really fun, exciting weekend that is different than most tennis tournaments.
Yeah, that's great. I always love seeing about that stuff that you guys do there. And so anybody who's listening to the podcast that maybe has thoughts and aspirations of being a coach themselves one day, maybe they're even early on in their own coaching career, per se, of it could be an assistant for their kids' team, or they really want to, pursue a career in coaching, they're listening to this now. What advice do you have for them on becoming a successful coach?
Yeah, I feel like we could do a whole episode on that
one. I know, right? That's a meaty topic.
I had one parent after our banquet this last season come up to me and say some nice things about what we did and her son's experience as a player. And then she said, "You should give a class on coaching." And I thought that was like the ultimate compliment for me, but also our other coaches too.
For sure.
Now, it's not always like that. I've been on the opposite end of that spectrum, too. So we've had parents that would not attend that class, that would not like the things I've said or done, I guess, over the years. But lately it's been very positive, and I don't have many complaints this last 5-7 years. We've been very fortunate there.
Yeah.
I'd say to a new coach, it's important to establish a culture, whatever that is that you want it to be. For us, we have a nice dedicated group of kids. They know their expectations. They know our expectations as coaches. They know what they should be doing, especially in season, but out of season. And so I feel like they all hold each other accountable. And so it's just a nice balance we have with the team and the culture. And it's a very cohesive unit, and it's just a special group. And hopefully that's the stuff we help them to create, or maybe we just got lucky. I don't know. But I'd say they'd have to set their own standards and rules, really, because consequences shape behaviors, right? You know that as a dad. So, like, if you want your kid to behave a certain way, you have to provide consequences when they do something wrong. And we do have that on the tennis team. I'd say the best rule that any coach should institute is a no cell phone policy at practice. Was the best thing I ever did. So I give the kids one warning all season. So if they look at their phone during practice, they'll get a warning. And if they look at it again at any point during the season, I'll take their phone away and I'll give it to them the next time I see them, which could be over a weekend or a couple days. And they never want to stretch it that far. They don't want to go without their phone. So we put the phone in the bag during practice and no one looks at it. There's no distractions there. And it's just amazing how they actually then talk to each other.
Right.
So they're not just carrying what's on social media.
Right.
So that would be the best thing. And then other rules, same sort of policy as yellow card, red card. We follow soccer a little bit. And so the yellow cards, they're warning for behavior or throwing a racket or any sort of issue that I don't want to see at practice. We give them a warning, and then if they do it again, then they're removed from the event that we're doing, the practice or the match, whatever it may be. So got to have some consequences. Yeah,
I think setting the standards up front to say these are the expectations, and I'm sure these weren't your day one when you first started coaching,
definitely
right?
Not. No,
these are probably things that as you went through the years, we need to modify this behavior, right? So we need to create this consequence or this rule per se,
right?
And I think the kids adapt to that, and year after year, there's that expectation. Then for those freshmen, they know going as a sophomore, here's what coach expects.
Exactly. Yeah.
And as a junior and senior, now they're showing the sophomores and juniors, right? What the expectation is.
So that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
And so when the freshmen see the seniors following those rules, you feel like you don't have to even tell the freshmen that, right? They're seeing it and they know how things are supposed to be. And then the program just carries on that way based on those standards that we set, I guess, over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned it, but what a great compliment as well for that parent to come up and tell you should be teaching a class.
I know,
on
I couldn't believe that. I guess it's from just the culture we've created on our tennis team is special. It's something I haven't really experienced in the 15 years I've been doing it. And I don't know if I can really explain it, but I would hope it has to do with all that we're doing on a daily basis.
Right.
And we do have a good group of kids. And they certainly help facilitate all of this.
Right.
But we're fortunate, and we have a very good group of kids.
And you've mentioned a couple times, giving credit to your assistant coaches through the years and different, individuals like that. For this upcoming season, who are your assistant coaches and what roles do they have on your team? Yeah,
so we have a good group of assistant coaches, and I wish they had some cool title like offensive coordinator. But no, for tennis, they're assistant coaches.
Maybe you can make up the
title. I got to give Pat DeMarco a cool title. He's been with me the longest. He started coaching 10 years ago, and he's helped out every year. He gives his time and his energy to our program. And he does a lot of stuff on the off season with our guys too, which is really cool. He has a way more impressive resume than me. He's a prep state champion. He played tennis at Penn State. He just got inducted to the Prep Athletic Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And then his two boys and daughter went on to Dayton and played and had a successful tennis career. And so he's really like the pillar of tennis excellence. And he still plays at a high level.
Wow.
I think he's 58, and he still can beat just about everyone on the team. There's probably two guys that can beat him.
It's impressive.
But I know.
Yeah.
He's a machine. So he's helped a lot over the years. The assistant coaches help the most at practices, and he helps the most at practice because he can play with the guys. He can play against them. He can drill them.
Yeah.
He knows the game. He knows the strategy, so he talks with them a lot. He's really instrumental on dealing with our higher-end players and really bringing the most out of them.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate to have him. We have 3 dads that are coaches, so their sons are on the team. Brian Ing was a college tennis player. His son's our number 1 player, Jonah. And then Steve Ferretti is an assistant coach. His son is our number 2 player, Gavin Ferretti. Dr. Keith Taylor, the Gannon president, his son is a senior on the team, Timmy. So Keith helps out with mainly our Hilton Head trip.
Okay.
He signs up for that, which all the other assistant coaches over the years were like, no, I'm not going on that trip.
Right.
A van ride with 10, 14 boys, whatever it is, and then stay in a house with them. No, thank you. But he signed up for that the last 2 years, and he's coming again this year.
That's cool.
On our trip. And then we have 2 new guys this year. Ryan Dimel will be assistant coach. He went to prep. He's older than I am, but he teaches tennis at Westwood. And then tennis friend of mine, Jared Skemp, who played at Edinburgh. So we have quite the crew of coaches this year.
Yeah, you guys are geared up and you're ready. These
coaches. It was 7 coaches, and you start 7 players, so it seems a bit ridiculous for a high school team.
But like you said, it's the culture and the program you have where, if there's kids in Erie who they're serious about tennis, great program.
They're not getting any better than that.
That's right, absolutely. No. You guys definitely seem like you have the best staff to well prepare them for that next level of tennis that they can pursue while they're here at prep.
Right, big time.
Yeah. No, that's great to hear about your coaching staff. And I guess for you personally, you're 15. Is this year 16 or?
This would be 15.
15, okay. So you're 15 here. What are you most looking forward to for this season for yourself with the team?
I guess I'd be lying if I didn't say the Hilton Head trip. We go for a week to Tennis Paradise, and it's 74 degrees and sunny.
Yep.
It's a special trip. It's cool. The kids are lucky and fortunate to be able to go on a trip like that. That tradition started when I went here. So Kent Pechtal took the team then, and I was fortunate to go on 2 trips in high school then.
Yeah.
And then it died down a little bit when I first was involved, but then we resurrected the tradition, and we've been doing it. I think this is our 5th year in a row.
Oh, that's great.
4th, COVID stopped the 1 year, but yeah, we try to go every season. We play a couple matches there. We play tennis twice a day. We'll play in the morning and the afternoon. And then the boys have some free time, and they get to go to the beach a little bit and just enjoy a nice week in the sun. It's refreshing.
When do you guys leave?
So April 1st.
April 1st, nice.
Yeah, it usually fluctuates around Easter.
Sure.
And then when our other matches are scheduled, but this year everything was earlier, which was nice.
As you know, I played baseball, and we started going to Arizona, I think when I was a junior, is when the sophomore, junior year is when the team started going. And so for that junior and senior, for me, that was a trip. You always look forward to that the most. Going out to Arizona, doing baseball, and that's where the team still goes now, is out to Arizona right around that Easter time, whenever the games lie. But yeah, so much fun. You do 2 days for practices, morning and afternoon, or you do morning practice, game in the evening.
Right.
It's just nothing beats it.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. While you're missing school.
While you're missing school, even better.
I know. This year, actually, we're going over the school spring break. Yeah. So the kids aren't too happy about that. Yeah. They're not actually missing school. But it's going to be fun, and it's a special memory. A lot of the kids, when they graduate, they say that their favorite high school memories are Hilton Head trip. Yeah. And so I think that's really special. For sure. That we're able to provide that for them.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. No, that's great. Anything beyond the Hilton trip you're looking forward to with this season you have in front of you?
Challenging this team with our difficult schedule, probably the most difficult schedule we've had in a number of years. Because we have a quality team this year, I wanted to give them the stiffest competition possible. So we're playing 11 teams from out of town. Okay. Some are coming here. We're traveling a lot: Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Cleveland. So we're getting out of Erie, which we need to for higher competition. Sure. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how they respond to that, and then ultimately how far we can go in the state playoffs when we get to Hershey.
Yeah. Well, we're all going to be cheering you guys on and following along as well. I love our social media, and the marketing of the school does such a great job with the daily athletic roundup that's on Facebook. Right. I always see that. Giving the updates on the tennis team and all the other teams from a daily basis on what's happening.
Seems like people who are following the school know what's going on with all the sports.
Correct.
And that's very nice to see.
Yeah.
Because tennis is not the most popular sport, but people still might pay attention a little bit to what's going on.
But everyone's cheering for the success of all the teams, regardless of what the sport is. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Right. Well, I got one question for you as we wind down on the podcast here. One last question. It's a bonus one. Surprise. So this is actually fun. I like to ask all the staff members, whether it's a teacher, a coach, or whoever it might be, same question to end the podcast, and it's, what does it mean to be a Rambler? And I think for you, it's a pretty cool question because you've got prep pride. You bleed black and orange just like I do. So I'm very curious to hear what your answer is. But last question for you, Pat. What does it mean to be a Rambler?
To be a Rambler, I guess I think we hold ourselves to a higher standard than other places might, especially our whole athletic wing. I think our sports in general hold ourselves to the highest standard possible. And Alec Thomas, one of my favorite players over the years, who went on to do great things, he summed it up pretty well recently. He texted me and he said that he can't believe that he ever considered not going to prep. And he thanked me for my influence on helping him to go to the school. Yeah. And he said he can't imagine what it would have been like not going to prep. And he's so thankful that he went there. And he constantly thanks me because he was going into his freshman year and he was planning to go to Mercyhurst. So this was July of going into his freshman year. Yeah. And finally we were able to talk to him, and his parents knew he should go to prep because that would challenge him, and athletically it would challenge him unlike any other place. Yeah. And then we ultimately did. He became the best swimmer possible, became the best tennis player possible because he was surrounded by great talent. And then he ended up flourishing as a student. He got a full ride to St. Bonaventure with athletic scholarship, but also academic scholarship. He actually got paid to go there. He had a stipend where he was actually making money. Wow. So it was just incredible. His story is incredible. And he thanks the school all the time and
Yeah.
me, and I think that's what it means to be a Rambler, is that we'll make the best out of someone, whether it's in the classroom or on their court or field or swimming pool, whatever they're doing.
Well, it's funny because the tagline I always say when introducing to the podcast is, we're passionate about sharing what makes Cathedral Prep the standard of excellence. And, it's stories through yourself as a coach, other people I've had on through their teaching experiences. These are the things that encompass what it means to be a Rambler, is the things that you're doing with your team. You have your guys in tennis and you're teaching them how to be excellent as tennis players.
Right.
And in the classroom, our teachers are helping the students be excellent in their academics. And that's just what prep is that it's a place that helps kids rise to be the best that they can be and whatever it is that they want to pursue, and having the people there to support them and help them get there. So, that's I got chills when you were talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, his story is special, and it should be shared as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Because that kid may have never ended up at prep had it not been for some of our influence, and
Yep.
it's just incredible to see what they end up doing.
Yep, 100%. Well, that's good stuff, Pat. I don't have any other questions for you. We appreciate you coming on the podcast, and 14 going on 15 years of serving the school in this capacity, by accident at first, but then
I know, right? Yeah. I stuck around, and now they can't get rid of me.
Yeah, right. Now they're stuck with us. But we're grateful for all you do for the tennis team and for the school and everything. So we wish you and your team the best of luck this season.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.